So we figured on this episode of the Locked On Browns podcast, we'll tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to Jacoby Brissett starting for your Cleveland Browns. We'll do it next.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things dog pound LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. Your host, Garrett Bush at GBush91. Myself at Jeff L_LJ_Lloyd. Show itself, Locked On Browns, follow back account. Appreciate everybody. Makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day, whether it's on your favorite podcast app or now on YouTube. Let's keep those subscriptions coming. The growth over there has been fantastic to this point. Mr. Bush has mentioned it. We all knew these storylines were not going to consist of any way of Baker Mayfield being the quarterback for 2022, even in the wake of a Deshaun Watson suspension. Now that cannot happen, as Baker Mayfield has been, finally moved. And now, Mr. Jacoby Brissett, basically the QB1 seed is yours. The oddity of it is we don't know for how long. Could it be a week or two? Could it be a month? Could it be 2 months? But Jacoby Brissett, originally drafted by the New England Patriots, ended up to the Indianapolis Colts, the Miami Dolphins this past season. Now here to bridge whatever gap there is for the Cleveland Browns until the lengthy and hopefully successful run of Deshaun Watson as the quarterback here. With Brissett, you understand that he's not the natural thrower of the ball that a Baker Mayfield is, certainly not a natural thrower of the ball that Deshaun Watson is. If the term game manager wanted to be used, I guess that's something you would probably apply to a guy like Jacoby Brissett. He's going to be stout in, getting the running game in order. He's an intelligent quarterback. That is not a question. He's going to play with an offensive line that he has never played behind before. There was a stretch for the Colts. I believe it was 18 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. That is a solid stretch for a player in the NFL. The Browns are not going to expect Jacoby Brissett to move mountains. They need Jacoby Brissett to audible to obvious runs. They need Jacoby Brissett to hit receivers that most likely are going to be schemed open. They're going to need him to take the running back throws in the flat, the tight end throws in the flat, the check downs if they're there, and understand that they'll create an opportunity or two for him through play action. But Jacoby Brissett is capable. I don't think, and I've said this, I don't think the expectations drop much with Jacoby Brissett. You brought in a proven veteran NFL quarterback, and it's with the thought process he's not supposed to come in here and do great things for 2 years. He's supposed to come in here, keep this ship floating for what could be maybe a month or two.
Yeah, that's exactly what the backup jobs is. So, when Kevin Stefanski or Andrew Berry bring him in, they're basically telling him, hey, this is your role. We want you to do X, Y, and Z. You take a look at what Jacoby Brissett is, and when you take a look at what Deshaun Watson is, 2 different players, right? 2 different frame of references. Jacoby Brissett is not going to be extending plays. Jacoby Brissett is not the guy who's going to, be able to hold the backside, tackle if we run in the football. But one thing Jacoby Brissett can do is screen game is him. He's also going to be a guy that can get you in the right play. He's also a guy that won't hurt you in terms of the interceptions. Baker Mayfield, when he was here, from his time being in the league, he has the tie for first, the most interceptions thrown in that 4-year period. And some of the games that Baker Mayfield struggled with, and some of these games he struggled in, were games where we not only could we not get the ball movement, but it was compounded by turnovers and mistakes on the quarterback's part. I always go back to the 4 interceptions. The Browns had a chance to win the game inside of the Green Bay Packer territory. I think it was almost like the 35-yard line in the snow. And Baker Mayfield he inexplicably could not throw the ball to a open receiver or get the ball to a receiver. The 4 interceptions that game. And you look at those games like that where you just need a couple of passes, a couple of times where you can move the chains, then you could be somewhere where you can do some different things. You can actually stay afloat. So when you got a backup quarterback, you just don't want to hurt yourself. You don't want to put your team in a bad predicament because you know points may be at a premium, especially when you got 2 good defenses going to each other. So I think Jacoby Brissett, what he does bring as far as his mental aptitude, I think one of the things that is bad is sometimes he'll have an issue where he can't run away from nobody. He's not the most mobile guy in the world. And then sometimes with the ugly, he gets in trouble and taking too many sacks. So when I look at this situation, I could say, well, Miami was where he came from. They weren't that good either as far as keeping guys upright. So now he'll have a better offensive line. He's a guy that's going to be out here moving around, that's going to move the chains, no splash plays. And I think that gives a calming feature to everybody on that side of the football, especially the defensive guys that know he's going to be out there and he's not going to put them in predicaments where they're pinned up against their own goal line trying to make a stop. So I think those are the things that really permeate well for Jacoby Brissett because he knows his role and he's been doing that role pretty much since he came into the league.
The thing here would be like understanding what you're playing with. Jacoby Brissett is not going to be in a situation where he's going to have to win games. This Browns defense, the way it's constructed, they're fully capable of doing those things. This Browns running game, they are fully capable of doing those things. You get to 2 things here. It is don't lose the game. So look, if it ain't there, eat it or throw it to mom in section 37B. Okay. Or there also is the understanding of one's limitations. You are not this big mogul guy. You don't create things with your mobility. Stand in a pocket. If it's there, check it. If it's not, at least get forward. Get back to the line of scrimmage. Do what you can. Try to save yardage. But this is things that you expect from a veteran like Jacoby Brissett, who has been around. He is in a really, really good position here with the team he's going to have to basically, be the leading man for, knowing that there's no chance he's getting this stage full time. He's never going to be the longtime star of this show. It is keep things upright until Deshaun Watson is ready to go. Jacoby Brissett is capable of that. He is that type of player. He's just got to learn. He's just got to be able to play within himself and understand, he's being asked to throw because it's going to be there. It's going to be open. No one's going to ask Jacoby Brissett to go out there and compete with Justin Herbert or compete with a Patrick Mahomes and go 400 versus 400. Whoever throws the most touchdown passes is going to win. Go in there, play within yourself, and you're playing to win the game, but don't make the silly mistake that's going to lose you the game.
Exactly. And I think Jacoby Brissett understands that. And I think he'll be fine in the role. I think he'll actually thrive in the role. And I think it'll be refreshing to see quarterbacks make progressions and reads and hit the guys in stride and just the little small things that we judge quarterbacks on. I would like to see him do those things.
I think it's also going to mesh well, though, because, not a lot of people are going to know what's going to come from this Cleveland Browns passing game right off the shoot. Yep. You've got a lot of new moving parts in, 3 rookies here. So, I mean, not 3 rookies, 3 young players at the wide receiver position. So there's going to be some newness to this. This episode is brought to you by rockauto.com. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now possible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questions such as, is your vehicle an EX or an LX? Is it a V6 or a V6 turbo? And wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only manufacturer their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. It's a family-owned business. They've been serving do-it-yourselfers for over 2 decades. Their prices are reliably low, and they are for every customer. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck, right? Locked on in their How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know Garrett and I sent you their way. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. When you look at this and, you look at it, the fact that this team probably doesn't have an entrenched number 2 wide receiver. which of course means you don't have a number 3 or you don't even have a number 4. And you were talking about a third-year player in Donovan Peoples-Jones. Yes, there's been some things to like. A second-year player in Anthony Schwartz. There were a couple of highs his rookie year, week 1 against the Chiefs. Nobody saw that one coming. His showing against the Packers late in the season. But for all intents and purposes, an incomplete on his rookie season. David Bell, whatever positives we think, David Bell was the 99th player selected in the 2022 NFL draft. I think you certainly view this, and you can view it towards whoever is a quarterback. If it is in fact Jacoby Brissett, you don't think of Jacoby Brissett as maybe somebody who is going to elevate the play of the wide receivers around him. If they were veteran receivers, they were established. They will find a way for a path towards success with Jacoby Brissett to bridge the gap to Deshaun Watson. Ultimately, these 3 young men and their fate within the league is going to be paired to what their success is with Deshaun Watson. But that being said, what you have in Amari Cooper. But for Donovan Peoples-Jones, there's been just as many hiccups in the road as there's been, bright moments. Anthony Schwartz, certainly not enough to see from his rookie year that's going to give you all positive vibes that we're just going to see a great, progression here in year 2 to him being a positive contributor to this team. David Bell, we all like everything we're seeing to this point, but it's got to translate into camp. It's got to translate into games. So for a team that is supposed to have these expectations and the fact that they should be considered to be contenders within their division in the AFC North, and you look at everybody else in that wide receiver room after Amari Cooper, it's certainly going to give you some pause. It's certainly going to give you some hesitation. And the other thing, maybe, Garrett, here is, look, maybe all 3 of them don't really have to hit, essentially, or break out, essentially. But you probably need 2 of them to play above expectations, whether it's Donovan and Anthony, whether it is Anthony and David, whether it is Donovan and David. You need at least 2 of these 3 guys to, at minimum, meet expectations, if not more, exceed expectations.
Definitely. You got to. Because if you don't, you're still going to end up with the same problem that we had before, which is, guys or teams loading up on the box. Now, granted, if Deshaun Watson is playing, there's a whole nother different reason why you could roll with those guys, right? You could roll with those guys because Deshaun Watson should be on the money. He's going to be able to extend plays, which enables receivers to get open downfield, give them a little more time to break away from the defensive backs. It also gives you an opportunity to run the ball. You're less predictable because you can run or pass, and when everything breaks down, Deshaun Watson can scramble for 5-6 yards, and you do it all again on first down, and that's very tiring to defenses. But if Deshaun's not there and you got a situation where it's Jacoby Brissett, you got an issue because now, yes, Jacoby Brissett is a competent backup. However, he does not have the same level of skill set on the arm, the mobility, or the ability to extend the plays and just be a special playmaker. He can get the job done in a short sample size, 6 to 8 games. However, if it's long term, you're going to need receivers that can get open for him. You need receivers to be able to make some plays. And sometimes when you look at this roster, it just scares you that they're considering unless Anthony Schwartz makes a huge jump. Donovan Peoples-Jones realizes he used to be a 5-star recruit, and he makes a huge jump. An injury at that position is not something that we can sustain and hold up. I still, in the bottom of my heart of hearts, still would like to see another veteran receiver, but we'll see how it works.
The thing is going to be, and we've touched on this before, is you want to at least give these kids time. So it could be a week. Could it be a week or 2 in a training camp? You hear of the Browns acquiring a veteran wide receiver. Maybe the Browns feel that it's not going to come as fast for the kids as they need it to. And when you have the potential of these 3 players and you're asking to basically see the best of all 3 of them, you certainly have to have, in the back of your mind, some thoughts that, not everybody is going to achieve what we think they can achieve. There's plenty of players that come into this league and don't meet the expectations of what was thought of them. And the Browns are in a difficult spot here. And this is where it's going to be, though. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, come week 1 against Carolina, whether it's Jacoby Brissett, whether it's Deshaun Watson, there ain't going to be a lot of open looks for Amari Cooper Because right now, if you're defending this team, one thing you're saying is, well, we're going to just cover the daylights out of Amari Cooper until we can prove somebody else is going to be able to do some things. Donovan, we've seen him excel in the vertical. Seen a brief glimpse of what Anthony can succeed in. David Bell, everything that we're going with David Bell is based on what we saw from him at Purdue. So none of it, we have seen, how it would translate or fit in here to the coach Kevin Stefanski scheme. So with needing all three of those players to take a jump and knowing that your opponents are going to force them, it's going to force the hand. All right, well, is any other wide receiver going to make a play? Because until they do, we're most likely going to take Amari Cooper away from you. So for those three, for David Bell, for Donovan Peoples-Jones, for Anthony Schwartz, it's going to be key. It's going to be paramount. These guys all need to hit the ground running in training camp. And for, most importantly, they all need to be healthy. You know what I'm saying? You are not going to be changing the thought process of any defense. You're not going to change the thought process of this coaching staff if anybody's over there on the bikes. It's just not going to work that way. These guys need to get out. They need to contribute. They need to contribute immediately. So for me, there's no greater question going into training camp on the offensive side of the ball. We're going to flip it up here. Jeff, Lloyd, Garrett Bush. Some thoughts here similar to the defensive side of the ball. Again, only 3 weeks out, folks. I say you hit that 4th of July, and next thing you know, it literally becomes football season. Stick around. Jeff, Lloyd, Garrett Bush, your latest Locked On Browns. From the people who invented Healthy and Tasty comes the latest gift to your taste buds. You've probably tried the amazing Coconut Brownie Chunk Built Bar. But guess what? Your friends at Built have given Coconut Brownie Chunk the Puffs treatment. That's right. The Coconut Brownie Chunk Built Bar flavor you love in a delicious, chewy marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate. It's like a fluffy cloud of coconut brownie goodness. But stop drooling and listen. They are good for you. They are low in calorie. They are low in sugar, high in protein, and all delicious. Coconut Brownie Chunk Puffs are only here for a limited time. Go to Built.com now to make sure you don't miss out. They are going fast because they taste amazing. All Built bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits and is something that tastes good and is good for you. The best part about Built Puffs is, of course, they taste amazing, but you can enjoy them guilt-free because they are actually good for you. They are the perfect treat, perfect when you've got a craving, you need to satisfy your sweet tooth, or if you need a quick snack. They are an excellent source of protein. Delicious coconut, rich, sweet brownie, creamy marshmallow. Stop fantasizing. Get to Built.com to order your box of coconut chunk Built Puffs right now. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Again, promo code LOCKED15.
We want to thank everybody out there for making Locked On Browns their first listen of the day. Whether you're listening to us in your car, whether you're listening to us on your smartphone, maybe you got a couple of minutes where you're in between driving your family around, doing the things that you do every single day to take care of your family. Maybe you're checking out us there, or when you just winding down, just hanging out at night, and you click us on and watch us on YouTube, on TV. We want to thank you for picking us up everywhere that you have been doing. Let's consistently keep on representing, keep on following, keep on liking, and remember, we want to get those 2,000. Hit those 2,000 subs on YouTube by the first day of training camp. I know we can do it. We're at over 1,500 right now, so continue to support. Jeff, we looked at the situation, and we just talked about a little bit of the offense, right? The defense. You look at it, 2 good defensive ends, 2 good safeties, 3 good corners, a couple of nice young linebackers, a veteran in the middle with Anthony Walker, who's the leader of the defense. And you look around and you see the glaring issue is D-tackle. You don't have any household names, guys, but you do have some guys that you've invested some draft capital on in the last previous drafts. Tommy Togiai is one of those guys. Mary Kay Cabot came on with the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show the other day, and she was on the barbershop. She talked about how they were really impressed with Jordan Elliott, what he's been able to do in the offseason program. They actually have him penciled in as a starter right now. I'm interested to see where Taven Bryan is in this whole situation, because he was a guy that they did go snatch up from Jacksonville, but he was never really what we would call a impact player or some dominant starter, or a guy that was really a high level starter. He was more of a rotating guy. So you got a lot of guys in that room. They just need to find out, and it could be committee, right? It could be just saying, hey, if the Browns get to where they want to get to, the goal is not to have that many defensive tackles in the game anyway. If you can get them down behind the chains, third and long, making sure that they have to go 7-8 yards to get a first down, that means you in pass rush a whole lot. And we'll take that because now you can bring in your pass rush, your Greyhound package, so to speak, getting the multiple defensive ends on the field. Winovich, Wright, Clowney, Myles Garrett will be out there. So that's what you want to get to. You want to get teams stop the run, get them into third and long, and now they got to mess around and throw the ball deep. That's when the pressure can get home. And so I'm just making sure and looking at this roster and being like, I have a little bit more faith in the defensive tackle room just because I feel like the other two guys on the line of scrimmage, they're going to be getting doubled all the time. So that means you're going to be getting singled up in the middle. So for me, it's a little bit less alarming than receiver because with receiver, I mean, you could get locked up anywhere on the field. Like with defensive tackles, they can't pay but so much attention to you. You got Myles Garrett. I might have 3, 4, 5, 6 more snaps. So your thoughts on the defensive line and a couple of the names that you're interested in seeing this season?
It's funny that it's extremely similar here at the defensive tackle position. You have your third-year player who's had plenty of playing time in Jordan Elliott. You have your second-year player, Tommy Togiai, very similar to Anthony Schwartz. Didn't play much last season. And then you have your rookie drafted in the same area that David Bell was in Perion Winfrey. And I think we all understand that, the emphasis of what maybe the Browns expect out of this room versus edge versus linebacker versus the corners versus the safeties, the expectations and maybe the need, for stardom is not something they necessarily need at the defensive tackle position, but it does not mean that they still aren't looking for somebody to step up and play well at the position. Now you brought up Jordan Elliott. I think part of this is also going to be Jordan Elliott. It's going to be, well, this is your time, okay. So you're going to be given the opportunity until we have to take it away. He was never basically listed as a starter in his time here, but now it's third year, former third round selection himself. It's time that you have reached the maturation process where maybe you are a starter in this league. If he cannot, you have a Tommy Togiai waiting in the wings. Again, albeit small sample size last year, but some bright spots. Perion Winfrey is a guy who took the draft cycle by storm. Personality, perseverance. This looks like a guy who's ready to get, at least he's going to go out and fight for everything that he can get on the field. He's not going to go out there. There's going to be no chump. There's going to be no laziness to it. He's going to give max effort. And like you said, if there's an opportunity here and you're going to get an opportunity for Perion Winfrey to see a lot of one-on-ones, granted, he is just a rookie, but this is how he won people over down at the Senior Bowl. People were really blown away by his ability in one-on-one to get off of people and get in the backfield and create havoc. So of these three, it's very similar to the wide receiver room. Again, maybe you're not banking on all three. If anything, you have your fingers crossed that two can at least meet expectations or give you a little bit more than what you're expecting. If it looks like Jordan Elliott probably going to get first crack here. Taven Bryant probably going to get an opportunity here. I don't necessarily think the opportunity for him is big. I think if Taven Bryant was seeing a lot of reps here, that probably is going to be a bad sign towards either Elliott, Togiai, or Perion Winfrey, because I think the cast is set for these three to be the top three of this room. And, look, they don't have to be world beaters. Nobody's asking anybody to be Aaron Donald, but you got to go in there and you got to show some NFL competence.
Got to play your position, got to play your role. And this goes for any defensive tackle. I play defensive line, and one of the things that defensive line coaches always preach, and you got to win your one-on-ones. If you got studs over there at defensive end, you have to do your part and win those one-on-ones, and that means penetration, that means gap integrity, and that means also pad level. So all three of those things are really pivotal into stopping the run, and they're going to get paid for stopping the run. The sack stuff will come from JOK. The sack stuff, if you look at, Joe Woods defense. That stuff comes from defensive ends, twisting, texting, doing all those different things and giving the offensive line a lot of multiple looks so they can mess up the pass protection. But you got to win your one-on-ones, and that's all they got to do to eat here in Cleveland.
So we covered a bunch of stuff here. I mean, the craziness and the minutia that here it is 3 weeks from Browns training camp officially opening. The Browns have no idea when they are going to get their new quarterback. There is still basically the black curtain hanging in the back of the room of their old quarterback, technically still on the Cleveland Browns roster. Wide receiver room going into training camp. Obviously, a lot of questions there about the ability of these young three and what they can bring to the table. And then, of course, defensive tackle room. And, it's basically the same scenario over there. A third-year guy, second-year guy, first-year guy. Which one of them can eventually maybe step up, take their place at the table, take command of that room. So a lot going on here with 3 weeks to go to training camp before everything is kicked off in Berea here. I'm assuming we'll have answers to the first two here on the quarterbacks by that time. But, again, it's getting late early in that respect. He is Garrett Bush, part of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, the barbershop Saturday mornings on 92.3 The Fan. Make sure you're checking all that out. Make sure you're following at GBush91, myself at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Also available now on YouTube, as Garrett had mentioned, well over 1,500 subscribers, trying to push that number to 2K. By the beginning of training camp. Gives us about 400 and change over a 3-week cycle. Certainly a number I think that can be done. So we appreciate you all for making Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. All that being said, this has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB Browns.